All right, we're going to move on to section 5.5. We break this into 2 days. We have 5.5 day 1, and then tomorrow we'll cover 5.5 day 2. This is kind of an extension on something we already covered in factoring. It's called completing the square. So this is a process of writing a quadratic equation as a perfect square trinomial so that it will factor to a square of a binomial. So the form of this is a squared, and then there's a plus or minus here because it could be a plus sign or a minus sign. And then 2ab plus b squared. Okay, this is generally what the trinomial will look like. And when you factor it, it will be a plus or minus b squared. Okay, and over here, this part in red is just kind of the generic form, the general form of it. But there's obviously going to be other numbers and stuff involved in this. So we're going to have a couple examples here. So if you look at on the left, review of perfect square trinomials. If we want to factor out this trinomial, x squared plus 10x plus 5, we would do smiley face method. Okay, and you would think, all right, what multiplies to x squared? X times x. Okay, and what multiplies to 25 and adds to 10? Right, because we would check the inside and outside. We want that to add a 10. So we would do 5 and 5. Okay, because if you did this smiley face method, you would get 5x and 5x. 5x and 5x is 10x. So the factored form is x plus 5 times x plus 5. Okay, I'm going to erase this. So what you notice in this one, that generic form up here, over on the right, that a squared plus 2ab plus b. Okay, if you notice, the middle is 10. 10 is 2 times 5 times x. Okay, if you multiply that together, you'll get 10. So 2 times 5 times x. That's where that comes from. So the first part is x squared. The last part is 5 squared. And the middle is 2 times 5 times x. This is the form of a perfect square trinomial. And how you would write this would be x plus 5 times x plus 5 is x plus 5 squared. Okay, this is a perfect square trinomial. So what you should be aware of is when you factor it, you take this number divided by 2 to get this number. Right? 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, and that's how these work out. They're kind of a special trinomial. So if you look at this one, m squared is a perfect square. 49 is a perfect square. If you factor this with smiley face method, you will get m times m gives you m squared. 7 times 7 gives you 49. Okay, and we want this to add up to negative 14. Negative 14. So it's going to be a minus and a minus. Okay, and notice if I take negative 14 divided by 2, I will get negative 7. So perfect square trinomial will factor out to be m minus 7 times m minus 7, which is m minus 7 squared. Okay, and for every perfect square trinomial, if it's a perfect square trinomial, when you divide by 2, you're going to get the number you'll use when you factor. So in this case, it's m minus 7 squared. Okay, so that was a quick review. Now if we go to the next section, it says find the value of c that makes the expression a perfect square trinomial. Then write the expression as a square of a binomial. Okay, so there's 2 steps for this. Okay, first step is middle term divide by 2. The second step is square what you get. So square what you get from step 1. Okay, and I'm going to show you why this works. Okay, take the middle term divided by 2 and you square it. So if you look up above, if you take 10 divided by 2, you get 5, right? 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. And that was a perfect square trinomial. Look at the next one. What's negative 14 divided by 2? Negative 7. And what's negative 7 squared? 49. So you take that middle term divided by 2 and then square it. So number 1. To get c, we're going to take the middle term, so 8 divided by 2, and you would get 4. All right? That's step 1. Step 2 will be take 4 and you square it. 4 squared is 16. So what does c equal? C equals 16. So the perfect square trinomial is y squared plus 8y plus 16. So this is the perfect square trinomial. We found the value of c, and then it says to write it as a square of a binomial. What that means is now factor it out. So right here we have a perfect square trinomial. When you factor it, you don't have to write this step every time. When you factor it, you will get y plus 4 times y plus 4. And why that is 4 times 4 is 16. 4 plus 4 is 8. So when you write this as a square of a binomial, it would be y plus 4 squared. That's what we're looking for. So you find c by dividing by 2 and squaring it, and then you factor it to get y plus 4 squared. Okay, number 2. To find c, c equals negative 50 divided by 2, which is negative 25. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is square that. Negative 25 squared is 625. So we found out what c is. Now if we write this out, x squared minus 50x plus 625. Okay, this is our perfect square trinomial. X squared is a perfect square, 625 is a perfect square. So what 2 numbers multiply to 625 and add to negative 50? I will give you a hint. That number will always be right here. So the number we're going to use is 25. X minus 25 times x minus 25 is the factored form. Because if you check this out, the inside and the outside will add up to negative 50x, and negative 25 times negative 25 is 625. So the square of a binomial is x minus 25 squared. Okay, and then number 3, to find c, this one's tricky because we do get a fraction. To find c, you do 11 divided by 2. Okay, and that's, we're just going to say it's 11 divided by 2. We're not going to do a decimal. And then you square that. So c is going to equal 11 squared is 121. 2 squared is 4. So we're just going to say c is 121 over 4. So our trinomial is x squared plus 11x plus 121 over 4. Okay, and again, the special thing about this is what number times itself is 121 over 4? 11 over 2. So when you factor this, it's going to be x plus 11 over 2 times x plus 11 over 2. And then this would be x plus 11 over 2 squared. So that's how we write that as a square of a binomial.